So in the tough act to follow category, hey Reid, you want to give a toast? Reid Murkison, who is my brother-in-law, brother of Francis, uncle of John Reid, and excellent toast giver.
Wow, that's... John Reid, I knew you were marrying a wonderful girl with terrific in-laws. I didn't know you were marrying into such wonderful brothers. That's just terrific. Early in the courtship of Greyson and John Reid, I had the pleasure of hosting Greyson at Wrightsville Beach for a couple of days, pretty much alone. Francis and Jay had never met her, and I had this really delightful time with you. And by the end of that visit, I pulled John Reid aside and I said, John Reid, if you decide you really love this girl, do not let her go. So John Reid, congratulations. You have not let her go. I said, John Reid, Greyson is a keeper. And Greyson, we are so delighted. Linda and Claire and David and Sarah and Andy and baby Jack all want to welcome you as a full-fledged member of the John Reid Murkison branch of the extended Murkison family. We love you, and we are so happy that you are going to be part of us. You're here.
Maid of honor, cousin, Becca, welcome.
Okay, I need to put my glasses on. Sorry, I'm have to read. Okay. I know. Fine. Okay. Excuse me, read. So I've written several versions of this speech, but none of them seem to do the two of you any justice. I could have reminisced for days about our kissing cousin days, or driving to St. Mary's, belting out JoJo, or trips to Ben & Jerry's with Sadie to eat the Vermonster, or watching Girls Just Want to Have Fun over and over again. But I thought that I would just speak from the heart. You two have the most incredible bond, and it illuminates on each of you. It's something anyone in this room would strive to find. John Reid, you're one lucky fella to have called this woman your wife. I would know because she's been by my side my whole life. Greyson, if you take care of him like you've taken care of me, he won't go a day without feeling so adored. Thank you for being the older sister that I've never had. This part gets a little cheesy if it already happened. Leo Tolstoy once said, "Oh, good, thank you." He stepped down, trying not to look long at her as if she were the sun. Yet he saw her like the sun, even without looking. Greyson, every time he looks at you, it's as if he sees this entire world. And I couldn't think of anything more perfect or endearing to portray a beautiful relationship. I'm so sorry. But love isn't just about looking at each other. It's looking with each other in the same direction. So I think you two are well on your way. I can't wait to stand next to you tomorrow as you make the most precious vows to the most precious man. We've talked about this day our whole lives, and now here it is. So, everyone raise your glasses. Here's to John Reid and Greyson. I could not love you more or be more thankful. I'm so excited to celebrate the love and joy you both bring into our lives. May this first year be filled with special love and blessings. Cheers.
Love you. Becca, thank you, Becca. Becca is maid of honor for this
event tomorrow, and in what is one of the greatest honors of my life, John Reid asked if I would be best man at his wedding tomorrow, which is I think I've told you this, but it means more to me than almost anything that I could imagine, that you asked me to stand beside you as you both begin this new chapter of your life. So I want to begin by thanking the Canes for this gathering and for this weekend and for the hospitality of this weekend, which is just an outward and visible sign of a larger welcoming that you have offered to my son, and the great gift as parents that you have offered to our family and to the world with raising a person like Greyson. And so I raise a toast to the Kane family and all these crazy siblings with all their crazy stories, and Farrell, whatever his name is, and the happy song, and the whole thing. So cheers. Whatever his name.
Farrell. Different.
Thank you. Whatever. Cheers to the Canes. I could go on a long time, but I won't. But preachers' families travel a lot, and John Reid and Helen will tell you exactly how many times we've moved from one place to another. No, you're not right now. Another time you can ask her offline. And I want to thank Francis Murkison for not only this evening and organizing it, but for the journey that has been our family's life, which has involved a lot of transition and has called for a lot of health coaching and nutrition advice and love and courage. So a toast of thanksgiving for the mother's love, which has brought us to this day and particularly has shaped this fine young man. So here's to Francis. So speaking of Frances Dunn Murkison, she and I have known John Reid longer than anybody in this room. Because unless you were in the delivery room with us, and I don't see very many familiar faces for that moment, we were there when it all began. And I remember leaving the St. Vincent's Hospital in Manhattan and running out of the hospital to catch something at home that we had forgotten, and telling every person on the street corner, did you know we just had a son, his name is John Reid. He was born on John Reid Murkison's 60th birthday. Isn't that exciting? And I'm sure there are still people on the streets of Manhattan who are scratching their heads at the notion that we shared this good news. But Francis and I have known John Reid longer than anybody else in this room. And he's been consistently the best man throughout this whole journey. So this is the story that I want to share, which is John Reid went to Wake Forest, a mile away from where his grandmother lived. And I remember this afternoon when we sat in the study or the office of my mother's house, and we were ready to launch him for college. And I was reminded of what a friend told me, that when you drop your kid off for college, it tears the heart out of your chest. And I thought, I can do this. And I was encouraging John Reid by saying, you're on for an exciting new chapter. And he said, I think I like the old chapter better. And we took him to Wake Forest. And as the president told us, we drove away and left him there for what was this new adventure. What I didn't know at the time was that not only was there this group of young brothers and others who were going to become his community, but in anticipation of that life in Lake Forest, Greyson Kane was preparing to also begin her life at Wake Forest with whatever fear and joy and trepidation you were experiencing at that time. And by grace, they were brought to each other. And by grace, they began to weave their lives together. And by grace, John Reid had the wisdom last December to say, will you be part of my life for the rest of my life? And Greyson had the grace to say yes. And that's why we're all here. And yeah. So tomorrow, John Yates tells me I get a few moments in a quiet room or a study or an office with John Reid to think about the next chapter. And what's so beautiful is, unlike that chapter at Wake Forest where we were wondering about the fears of being alone and all this, or the uncertainty of the challenge, you go forward in this new chapter with such great love for each other, and knowing that you're not alone in this journey, and knowing that you've got the support of a crowd like this, and the few other people who will be joining us tomorrow, who will be, according to John's instruction, committing to support you in your life together. And that is a blessing. And that blessing and gift that comes to you, I challenge you and charge you to be a blessing to the world. So raise a glass with me to Greyson and John Reid, who are each in their own way and together a grace, a gift, as we celebrate their life together. And I love you both very much. Cheers. Can you get out? No. Okay. The father of the bride is going to join us in just a moment. The booth structure is, there we go.
Thank you, Jay. It's tough following all these preachers. And Greyson, you may wonder when I pull out 3 typed pages what I was going to say. I will be through by 9:30. John Yates has taught me well. I've watched him. So I too want to thank a couple of people. First of all, my bride of 35 years. Well, you know, we love each other's necks today. As we did when we first met each other. And thank you for helping us raise these 4 children. We sure had a lot of good times along the way, and a lot of fun stories. And I could tell a whole lot on each one of them, but I'm limited to 45 minutes. So. I also like to thank John Yates. I don't know where John is, but he's our rector, and John's going to be presiding tomorrow. And we're just delighted that it's going to be the first wedding, actually, in our new church at Holy Trinity that Will and I've been a part of for 11 years now. So we're delighted to that. And thank you, John, for all your counsel and love that you poured out on Greyson and John Reid. We appreciate that very much. And the Grahams in the room, there are 3 Grahams in the room, and I'll just mention them by their names of Graham, Poppy, and Riri. You can guess who they are. You've heard from 2 of them already tonight. So we're blessed to have them here with us tonight, and thank you for your love for these 2 all the way through that. And of course, a huge thank you to the Sidebotham family, to Helen. Your toast was great, by the way. It was really fabulous. And to Francis and Jay, thank you for being here and your gracious hospitality tonight is just wonderful. So now I'll move on to Greyson and John Reid. And I'm not sure how I'll get this in 45 minutes, but I'll try. So Greyson means a blessing from God. And we didn't know that when we named her, but we found it out afterwards that was just a name that we liked. We just liked the name. But we found it meant a blessing from God. But I didn't know how much of a blessing you really were until you were here. And as you heard, when Greyson came along, life in the Kane family changed a little bit. With were three older brothers who were all, as you've heard, really good athletes, and they played sports and they played everything under the sun, and we would always have basketball and football games in the backyard, and it was pretty rough, and it was just kind of tough, and that's the way I came up, and that's the way they came up, and that's what we did. And then came Greyson, and boy, did things change. I mean, she was just prissy. She just kind of sit around and she didn't do anything. William and all the boys fought all the time, and they're scrapping it up in the backyard and doing all the things they do. And I said, well, what's wrong with her? Do you think she's okay? I'm kind of worried. I just don't know. And so we were in the backyard playing. I would always swing. We had these huge swings in the backyard that were just great. We would hang out there. She loved me to swing her, so I would swing her in the backyard all the time. And so I finally one day, after she was about 3 or 4, I said, Greyson, do you think you'd want to play a sport, maybe? And she said, well, Daddy, I don't know. Is there anything that you don't have to run or sweat? And I said, well, maybe music's good. So if you remember Shaquille O'Neal, and I'm going to be kind of random all over the board, so you'll just have to forgive me. I've worked on this taste for a long time, and it is not perfected. But Shaquille O'Neal, as many of you remember, was this big old huge guy that played at LSU and played the pros forever. And so he's a really friendly, funny kind of a guy. I've always thought he was kind of funny. Anyway, when she was about 3, I guess, when he was playing his kind of the peak of his NBA career, and rap was just getting started. And so we would come home, and the boys would do this thing where they'd go, hey, Shaq, where you at? And Greyson would go, I'm over here. And so that was their fun thing to do with Greyson. And we only did it about 100 times. So it was really funny. So to say she was spoiled is probably a little obvious, and I'll plead guilty to that one. And you've heard about our Christmases. They did change when she got to be 3. The quality basically went out the window. And it was no more, and it still isn't. As you'll see tomorrow night. And that's okay, because I love spending money on it, because I love her so much, and I don't mind spoiling you, and it's okay for me to do that. So just be expecting it to keep on going. So the problem with this is John Reid's problem. So our family loves to snow ski, and we started this basically at age 3. When Greyson got to be big enough to ski, we surprised them all by on Christmas morning when she was 3 years old, literally surprised them, and went to the airport that afternoon and took them all to Vail to go skiing. I did not know how well to pull that off, and that was a surprise. It was absolutely unbelievable. We literally left on Christmas Day. The kids had no idea. I think Brian found a ski map in there and said, what is this, Dad? After after about 3 hours of Greyson and doing presents. I said, that's the ski map. And he said, what does that mean? And I said, because we're going to Vail in 2 hours, so get ready. So we went, and so this is a funny story. So Greyson is skiing for the first time, and she was born a beautiful vocalist. She's so talented, it's unbelievable. And she would sing while she skied, which was a 3-year-old little girl. We got her enough of a lesson where she'd go up on the hill and go down the trail. She loved to ski on the trails. And she would sing Go Tell It on the Mountain. And she would just be skiing along, singing a little song, Go Tell It on the Mountain. And we asked her at a break, and we said, Greyson, why are you singing that song? She said, because Jesus was born on the mountain. And Willa said, Jesus was born in Bethlehem. And she said, no, listen to the song. Go tell it on the mountain where Jesus Christ was born. So when she was 4, our maid at the time, Betty, who was really good at a lot of things. She wasn't very good at cleaning, but she could press some things, and she could be dangerous about several things, but she didn't really do much of that. She did. Yeah, she made good French fries. She was pretty large, and she enjoyed what she cooked. But she decided that she was going to renew her vows with, what was his name? Sylvester. So Betty and Sylvester were going to renew their vows, and she was determined that Greyson was going to be kind of the queen of the whole wedding ceremony. So we went to Southeast Raleigh. It was on a Saturday morning. The wedding was supposed to start at 11 o'clock. So Greyson was the kind of maid of honor,
Flower.
flower girl, but she was more than the flower girl. Let's just clear. She was the center of attention other than Betty. And I think it was really her. So we got there about 10:30. Greyson went with Betty and one of her friends. They left and went back. Of course, the boys at the time, I think y'all were 8, 9, and 12 or something. You can imagine Saturday morning, pretty spring day. I'm kind of with them. Wow, we here? Explain this to me. So Greyson left at 10:30 to go get dressed. The wedding's supposed to start at 11. At 12:45, the wedding started. We were sitting there, John's dressed up, Brian and William dressed up in our coat and ties on Saturday on a pretty spring day, and we were in church in Southeast Raleigh. And so finally the whole thing, procession starts, and we're rocking to the music, and we're coming down the aisles, and we're having a big time, and here they come, and so they announce, I have to get this right, they announce Little Miss Gracie Kames. That was her name. We had an S on it. I didn't know we'd added an S on it. I'm sure it started with a C. But anyway, Little Miss Gracie Kames. So anyway, she got in, we got the whole thing done. There was a woman preacher, and she was profound. I mean, she let us hold it. It was great. And so we got through with that. We went to the potluck lunch afterwards, which was time for dinner by that time. But we got back there after that, and we asked Betty, why did y'all start for an hour and 45 minutes? And she said, we finished up making the dresses. I said, oh my goodness. So then, little to my knowledge, of course, we were the only 6 white faces in the room, and the preacher lady looked at me and she said, Mr. Kane, would you please say grace? And I went, oh gosh, you gotta be kidding me. I said Jesus a lot, John A. She's been proud of me. So now I'm on to which he's 6 years old. I finished one page, so I'm on first day of school. So Brian and John and William always rode to school with Jimmy Goodman. He was their driver. He lived right up the street from them. And so they would walk down the street, and Jimmy would pick them up, and they would go. So it was time for Grayson's very first day of school. And so Will and I went to him. We said, well, this is a big deal, so we're both going to be taking you to school. We'll take you out there. And Grayson said, I'm riding with Jimmy. And Willa said, no, you're not riding with Jimmy. And she said, I'm riding with Jimmy and my boys. And she rode with Jimmy and her boys. So the first day of school, Jimmy Goodman had instructions from Willa as to how to take her into the first grade class there. So in 7th grade, having followed her 3 brothers that were all kind of athletes and played all kinds of sports and did everything, she had played Salvation Army basketball for part of one season when she was 6 years old. And she said, I'd asked her after the first 2 or 3 games, I said, honey, are you enjoying this? And she said, no, I'm not. So she didn't play any other sport. She didn't play soccer. She didn't try anything. She didn't want to play music. She was great at music. So in 7th grade, she decides, I'm going out for the middle school basketball team. Well, we had a full basketball court back there. We all played all the time. We played all the time. And I said, why? And she said, because the boys all play basketball. I said, yeah, but you have never played basketball. You don't even like basketball. No, but I have to go out for the team. So she went out for the team, and Sarah, I remember watching you play on that team, and I don't think y'all ever got to double figures. We would always... I'm sorry. I know you scored a couple of times. I don't remember that, but... So anyway, to Grayson's surprise, she didn't make the team. She got cut. And I was so relieved I didn't know what to do, that I wasn't going to have to watch girls basketball where they don't score more than 8 points in a game. So after years of golf tournaments and high school and John's wrestling matches and Brian's golf matches and William's basketball, finally all of those days had kind of gone, and Greyson and her 3 buddies, Macaulay and Haley and Cammie, and I took many, many trips together. So I went from sitting on the bench, sweating, watching John and William and Brian play ball, to going and having a good time with 4 really pretty girls and my wife, another pretty girl, and earned the name of Daddy Kane, which I'm still proud of to this day. Those 3 girls call me Daddy Kane. And if you don't know, it really means a lot to me every time you say that to me. So necessary? That's what it's like. So we took them to the Cayman Islands, after high school graduation. Of course, down there you can drink when you're 10 or something, you know. And so it was us and all of them, and of course they wanted to go out and have a big time. Well, I'm being the protective dad. I'm kind of going, I'll go out with you. And they're kind of looking at me like, I don't think so. And I'm thinking, you four pretty girls in the Cayman Islands without any protection? I don't think so. So I went and talked to the concierge at the hotel, and I said, listen, I got a little problem. These girls want to go out and have a big time, and I'm fine with that, but I just want to make sure they're safe, and I want somebody that's watching over them everywhere they go, and I want them back here safe every single night that they go out. No problem, we got the perfect woman for you. So they put me in touch with June, and the girls called her June Bug, I believe is what they called her. And June Bug was a Cayman Islands native, and she was perfect. And she would take them out every night. They'd go to the bars and do whatever they did, I don't want to know. And she would walk in, and she would say when she walked in, don't touch the ladies, and the ladies are mine. And that's what she did. She brought them home every night safe, but we had a good time with them. So William mentioned her music, and Greyson is an incredibly talented musician. In fact, she was playing piano the other night. John Reid and Will and I were having dinner and singing. It was just wonderful. At the age of... Was I singing? No, I was not. Yeah, I know better than that. She, at 16, actually wrote and recorded a song in Nashville, and I was going to play it, but I decided, Will advised me not to, so I didn't, but it's actually very good. And I really thought that she would go on to pursue music potentially certainly in college, and then maybe even as a career. And her senior recital in high school was one of the most unbelievable things I've ever been to. She sang for literally 2 hours, I'm not exaggerating, straight, and it was unbelievable. It was beautiful. The boys were all there, and obviously Will was there, Reid and Woody were there, and in Italian. It was phenomenal. It really was. So she tells us our junior year, though. I said, well, honey, what are you thinking about college? She said, I don't think so. I don't think I'm going to do college. I said, you're not going to do college? She said, no, I don't think I need to go to college. And so Will wanted to try to talk her into it, and I said, you just need to leave her alone, let her be. She applied for early admission to Wake that next summer, thank goodness. And obviously that's when she met her young man, who we love and adore, John Reid. And you've heard that story from Jay and others this evening. And I went to Wake Forest, which I'm proud to be a deacon. I'm so glad that Greyson decided to attend there too. So glad that you ended up being there and meeting each other together. And Greyson has just grown up to be such a beautiful, smart, intuitive, perceptive, creative, gifting, and loving person. And I could kind of go on and on because you are the apple of my eye, and you know that. And I love you dearly. John Reid had to get through not only me, but 3 brothers, and so he didn't have an easy route, quite frankly, to get into our family, and I could tell you some stories on that, but I won't. But he has earned his way in, and I am appreciative of that, and the fact that you did it the right way. And I'm so appreciative of the way that you all have handled your relationship of over 6 years. I know you and love you like a son already, and it's really a blessing to have you all the way you've handled this in such a strong Christian way, in such a loving way, in such a purposeful way. And it just means a lot to Will and I both that you've done it this way. So I'm going to close on an emotional note, and I don't know if I'll get through this. But when Greyson was 3, Will had some health issues along the way, and I would usually put the children to bed, and I'd say prayers with them. And I'd put sign of the cross on their head when I did that after I said prayers. And when I did that with Greyson when she was 3, she reached back up and did it back to me. And so that kind of became our thing. And so if we were going to be gone from each other for 3 or 4 nights, we would do that for each other's forward. For each time we would be gone. So I ask you that the sign of the cross, bless your marriage each and every day, just like you've been a blessing to us. God bless.
Well, that's kind of hard to follow. Thank you all.
So first off, a few thank yous. Thank you all for being here. We got people from San Francisco, from Portland, from Texas, from New York. It means the world to us to have this in this room of support. It's pretty cool. Thank you to the Canes. Thank you to the Kane brothers. This weekend is nothing but spectacular, which is expected. But I thank you all for welcoming me and loving me and accepting me into your family. I'm speechless. I really am. I honestly am speechless. I can't expect for a better situation. I couldn't have dreamed for a better situation. I feel like I'm part of the family. And it means the world. Now to Mom and Dad, Helen, thank you all for tonight. It's an amazing evening. You've gotten 150 people into a fairly tight space, and that's great. Thank you for being my support system. You all have made me who I am today. You really have. And I think that's pretty good. What do you think? But thank you. I adore you all. You will always be my knit. I'm moving towards Greyson, and that's supposed to happen. But you will always be there for me, and I know that, and I love you all. Now, to Greyson. I love you. You are beautiful. You're patient, which I'm not. You are my best friend. So when I was kind of thinking about what I was going to say, I thought back to what John Yates and I had actually talked about when we were in marital counseling, and he sort of said that I think I was a little too optimistic about marriage, which I think is probably right. So I thought about it, and I thought more on it, and I said, you know there's going to be challenges that present themselves. And there were a couple things that jumped out at me about why I think I'll be able to overcome any of these rocky roads that are going to come up, which I'm sure they will. We've already had them. We don't need to go into them right now. But so first off, the examples we have in front of us. Mom and Dad, John and Willa. I can't imagine two better examples of what marriage should be. You have, speaking from the side-bottom side, you have supported each other, loved each other, moved around the country to do whatever they're going to do for each other. And I hope and promise I can do the same for you. Second is, and I just touched on this, but and we've talked about this before, John and I, and it's about that you're my best friend. You really are. I can't imagine going through any challenge, anything, without you by my side. And it gives me enormous faith knowing that you are, that we can go overcome anything. And maybe I am too optimistic. Probably. But I'm just confident that with you, I can do anything. I know it's cliche, but the moment I knew that I was going to marry you was we were in D.C. and I was having a really tough time with work, and you were my rock. And that's at that point I knew that I could be with you and that we were meant for each other. So with that, let's all raise a glass to Greyson, who is the reason we're all here. Thank you for saying yes. It would be a boring evening if you hadn't. I love you all, and thank you all for being here, and hope you all enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you.
So thank you all. The evening continues with dessert and drinks and fellowship and gathering. Anything else you want to say, Ms. Murchison? Thank you. Go. We're good. Thank you so much for being here. Okay.